Welcome back, everyone, to ACI 1, Chapter 5, Part 2. Today is the 1st of February, 2024. So, as usual, we are going to gather our mind here before we begin and set our motivation. So, just get ready. Just close your eyes and relax. And focus on your breath until you hear from me. Now, bring to mind a being who is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom. See them appearing before you just by way of you thinking of them. They're gazing at you with love, smiling at you with a really great compassion and wisdom radiates from them, a warm glowing glow encompassing your light. Hear them saying, bring to mind someone who is hurting in some way. Think about how much you would like to help them. Only ways that you have tried and you might try. Recognize how those worldly ways fall short. How wonderful it will be. You can also help them in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they can stop the distress forever. Through that wish, go into an intention and a determination when you're ready. We bring our mind back to our holy guide. They know what we need to know, what we need to learn, and what we need to do. And so we ask them, please show me that. We are so happy that we have asked. Of course, we agree. And gratitude arises, and we want to offer them something exquisite. And we think of the perfect world that they teach us to create. We imagine we can hold in our hands, and we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us in the form of the refuge prayer. Here is the great earth, filled with the smell of the incense, covered with a blanket of flowers, the great mountain, four lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of the Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure will. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kami Atayam. I go for refuge into enlightenment, to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in giving endurance, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of all beings. I go for refuge until enlightenment, to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in giving endurance, may I become Buddha for the sake of all beings. I go for refuge until enlightenment, to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in giving endurance, I will become a Buddha for the sake of all beings. And may it be so. Space, ready with the device. Bring your mind back to the space here. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And come back to the space here. When you're ready. We are into chapter 5, part 2, but let's do revision of what we have done in the last class. Do you remember? Let's see. So in chapter 5, we learn samsara, the definition of samsara. We say samsara is the condition of being forced through the power of karma and mental afflictions to take on the impure parts that make up a suffering being over and over again. Right. So this is in question 1 of our homework. And then we say, what changed us in this cycle of life? What really keep us in samsara? Our karma and bad thoughts. Our karma and bad thoughts. To what exactly are we chained? We are chained to the impure parts of our being, to this dirty mind and body. So we learn in chapter 5 that renunciation is the prerequisite, it's necessary. Remember here, the verse number 3, there is no way to end without pure renunciation. This is the prerequisite. I'm like this gorilla in the cage. So first thing, I must want to escape, right? If I don't want to escape, there's no way I can escape. So the very first thing is I want to escape. To recognize that life is a suffering, that I want to escape. Escape from what? Escape from this dissatisfactory condition. Escape from samsara. So if we don't think life is a suffering, surely we wouldn't want to escape. So that's why renunciation is the prerequisite. And then we say, okay, yeah, I want to escape. Yeah, I understand. Then when we start to think about, oh, then what about the people around me? They like me, they must be suffering too. Right? What about the people around me? They must be suffering like me too. And then I start to, start to develop this compassion. Is when your renunciation turn towards others, right? Your renunciation turn toward others, you start to develop this compassion that you can't bear to see others also in suffering. I can't bear to see other people tormented by this suffering in life. And I want them to be free from suffering too. And then you start to develop this wish that I want to achieve Buddhahood so that I can free them from suffering. Also, I want to give them happiness. So renunciation is really the very first prerequisite. If we are not concerned about our own suffering, why would we be concerned about other people's suffering? So remember, we say renunciation is a necessary. Some people say, oh, what about if I just develop the bodhicitta? Yeah, so renunciation must come first so that if we are not even concerned about our own suffering, why would we be concerned about the suffering of other people? So we say, okay, fine, I understand. All right. And then we say that we learn that, oh yeah, that's one thing. Yeah, the next thing we move into, we say, okay, I understand. Okay, you explain to me renunciation. Then how can I develop this renunciation? I want to know. Now you tell me about renunciation is a prerequisite. Okay, I understand life is suffering. Okay, if I don't escape, then there's no way I can escape. But if I want to escape, if I have this wish, maybe surely one day I can escape. So how to develop that? Then we learned that also in last week. There are 2 meditations that will help us. This is in verse 4a. We say leisure and fortune are hard to find. Life is not long. Think it constantly. Stop desire for this life. So leisure and fortune are hard to find is the very first meditation that they ask us to think about that. That will help us to eliminate the first half of our desire for the things in this life. And the second meditation is on life is not long. We talk a lot about the leisure and fortune, right? The 8 leisures and the 10 fortunes are the perfect circumstances that we have right now, the inner and outer circumstances for our spiritual practice. And we talk about life is not long. We say, think about, our life is like the chaff of grain, like this picture. That death is inevitable, but we don't know when. We don't know when. When we die, nothing but the Dharma can help us. So they say that these 2 meditation, if you think about it, they can help us to eliminate the very first desire, which is a desire for things in this life. So what do you mean by stop desire for this life? So I go and find from the reading here, the desire for this life is the desire for happiness and fame in this life, where you say to yourself, if only I could get more of the good things of life than anyone in the world, I get the best food, get the finest clothes, get the biggest name, and all the rest. Yeah. In that context, doesn't mean don't go to work. Okay, we say the thing like that, right? So we explained in great detail in the previous class. So today we are going to go into the 8 worldly thoughts. Okay, 8 worldly thoughts. Why we want to study the 8 worldly thoughts? I go and find the reading here, a little bit connected to the 8 worldly thoughts. Before that, to give you some background information. There is this Dromtonpa, I don't know how to pronounce the name, a main disciple of Lord Atisha. One day, then, he saw some monks doing some practice, prostration, reciting prayers, meditating and everything. And then he said, He said, give up on this life. So they don't understand. What do you mean by give up on this life? Give up on this life. How am I supposed to practice? Give up on this life. And then there is another scenario where Lord Atisha was asked for teaching. And then all he says is, give up on this life. Practice love. Practice compassion. Practice the wish to achieve enlightenment for all living beings. So what is this? Give up on this life. Yeah, so I try to connect the dots. So when you say give up on this life, here they say give up on this life means that giving up the 8 worldly thoughts. You're actually giving up the 8 worldly thoughts. I read here. Okay, you have to give up is those 8 worldly thoughts or attachment towards the pleasures of this life. Give up these thoughts doesn't necessarily mean that you have to throw away all your material possessions and become a beggar. In fact, holy teachers of the past who succeeded in giving up life on this life, they have fantastic material wealth, such as Panchen Lobsang Yeshe. Okay, so giving up on this life doesn't mean that, oh, I throw away all my car, I give up all my everything. It's not like that, you see? So it's actually giving up to give up on these 8 worldly thoughts. So today we are going to learn the 8 worldly thoughts. So what are the 8 worldly thoughts? Okay, I put here 1 and 2, means that they come in pair. Happy when we get it, unhappy when we don't get it. These are the thoughts that we have. Then the second pair, 3 and 4, happy when we feel good, unhappy when we don't feel good. Number 5 and 6, happy when we are well known, unhappy when we are not well known. 7 and 8, happy when someone says good about us, unhappy when someone says something bad about us. Okay, so then this one, just for the Tibetan, for blessing's sake, I have to read from here. Okay, this is from the reading, no, from the class notes. Let me read through the reading, then we come back for the explanation. The 8 worldly thoughts will be Jiktan Chu Ge. You can say after me, Jiktan Chu Ge. Jiktan, Jik here, they say world. I don't know Tibetan, okay? Chu here means thoughts. I also know Chu is also Dharma, but here they refer to thoughts. Ge means 8. Okay, and then these are Jikten Chuge means the 8 worldly thoughts that we mentioned just now. So remember the first pair, 1 and 2, Nye, Dang, Ma, Nye. So Nye is to get something. Dang means and, Ma, Nye means not get something. So Nye, Dang, Ma, Nye. Okay, the second one, De, Dang, Mi, De. You can say after me, De, Dang, Mi, De. Me means feeling good. As usual, Dang is and, Mide, not feeling good. Feeling good and not feeling good, which is a second pair here. The third pair, Nyen, Dang, Mi, Nyen. Nyen, Dang, Mi, Nyen means well-known and not well-known. 7 and 8, Te, Me. Say something good to you is Te, Me, say something bad to you. Okay, so these are the 8 worldly thoughts. So is it? Okay, I want to look at the first pair first. I want to look at the unhappy, the first here. I want to look at this first pair. I would say the first half of it. Unhappy when we don't get it. Unhappy when we don't feel good. Unhappy when we are not well known. Unhappy when someone says bad about us. I want to look at an example. When I don't get something, I feel unhappy. And my natural reaction is, whoa, I want to fight. I want to fight to get the things that I want. And then if I don't feel good, I'm not happy. And my natural reaction is I become very irritable. I get just blow up. The same thing for when I'm not well known. I come in, I thought everybody know me. People don't know me. And I thought, hey, how come? I have been here long. I've been staying here so long. I've been doing this service for so long. And when people say something bad about me, when I hear about that, I'm not happy. And then the next thing, when we have a chance, we say something bad about them. That is a natural reaction that they say perpetuate what we are trying to avoid. What we are trying to avoid, precisely our natural reaction, plant another seed precisely for that to happen again, for us to experience that again. How could that be? Let's zoom in into one example. When I hear someone say something about me, I'm not happy. And then I go and, when I got the opportunity, I go and read. My natural reaction would be to say something bad about this person. And what happened? What did I do? What did I do? Huh? So naturally, my natural reaction makes me to experience that again. Something I try to avoid, I don't like it, but it's going to happen again. Because what did I do? Yeah. So then you might be asking, well, do you mean that I feel nothing? So you say it's wrong. I'm not supposed to feel unhappy when I don't get it. I'm not supposed to feel unhappy. So how should I feel? Feel nothing? It's not that we feel nothing. It's that because of our understanding of emptiness, despite that, despite I'm not feeling happy, right? Because of my understanding of emptiness, I would refrain from my natural reaction. I want to pull back because of my understanding of emptiness. Yeah. So it takes a little bit of struggle initially. I would say it is a struggle not to react in a natural way, our instinct, our feeling. This is how we feel, this is how we want to react, So we kind of like need to struggle a bit because of our understanding of emptiness. Like our class is still very new. So not to worry, we have heard of the pan, we just learn a bit of the emptiness, then we start to contemplate on that, right? And we start to it will happen, it will still happen. We just have to struggle, and then slowly, as we understand more and more, we will be able to understand why we should, why reacting in that natural way, plant that seed for us to have another samsaric experience. Yeah, so we need to struggle a little bit with that. Our natural reaction is that, but because we understand more and more now as we go along, we know that our natural reaction will plant a bad seed, but we don't want to experience that again. Doesn't mean that we feel nothing. Yes, I don't feel good, but I will not go and shout back, right? Yeah, I understand where it's coming from, so I restrain. So it actually helps our life as we study this. Our life will become better and better. It's difficult because that is our instinct, our just natural instinct. That's how we want it, especially when we are not feeling well. Then we feel like I'm entitled, like someone must treat me very well. Then I just get irritable, very irritated easily. Right, that is a bit difficult, right? I feel entitled that people must understand me. They have to, treat me well. And when they don't, I just burst up, and I have every reason to do so. And I think I'm right. But because of our understanding of emptiness, we don't want that. We don't want to have another samsara experience. Yeah, I feel bad. Yeah, I feel bad. Then I just keep quiet. Yeah, and then I try to maybe just go away and then just process that, contemplate a bit. Yeah. Instead of on the spot, you want to fight back. You want to quarrel back. You want to hit back. You want to fight back. You want to say something bad, right, to the other person. Because we don't do that is because we recognize that because of our understanding of karma and emptiness, right? We don't want that to happen again. So Now we want to plant a different seed. We want to act differently. Okay, that is for the first half. For the first half. We will continue to talk about all these themes about emptiness as we go along in ACI. So not to worry if you don't understand. We don't have all the tools yet. And it will still happen. Doesn't mean that after we learn today, we understand, then that's it. Okay. Yeah, it will take a while. Practice, practice, and practice. Okay, so don't beat yourself up. You still cannot do it. I still cannot do it all the time also. But I can see the improvement. I can see a lot of improvement from last time. Totally cannot, right? And then what should I do? Start to recognize. Have your station. You will learn in ACI. Your station where you watch yourself, your own behaviors as you learn. Not to say maybe immediately, maybe from yesterday, then today only you recognize, or then from a few hours you recognize, or maybe from immediately, yeah, you recognize how soon, maybe the thought about, then you immediately you recognize, you stop yourself. So it will take a while, a bit of practice. Let's look at the second pair. We say, happy when we get it. Let me share again. Happy when we get it. Happy when we feel good. Happy when we are well known. Happy when someone says something good about me. Yeah, I feel so happy. So are you trying to say that I shouldn't feel happy? Are you trying to say that, oh, if I get something, I shouldn't feel happy lah? No. In fact, the goal of Buddhism is to feel good. Is to feel good. To have this high ecstasy, high happiness, ultimate happiness. We call it ultimate happiness. That happiness that will perpetuate itself. Yeah, because we know where it's coming from. Right? Not just a short term, a dirty good karma, not just that. We want to be able to achieve ultimate happiness. Of course, we want to be happy. But we recognize where they are coming from, where the happiness is coming from. So for example, let's give an example. Now, I have a contract and I managed to close the contract because I lie. I'm very clever, I lie. Because I lie, so I get this contract. Yay, I'm so happy I get something. But we need to recognize the contract that I get now is not because I lie. The contract that I get now, the money that I get now, is coming from some past goodness that I've done in the past, right? Yeah, so to recognize that, where is it really coming from? Not from the lie. Why not from the lie? We say a good cannot come from a bad. The same thing, a bad cannot come from a good. Hey, but we see that happening because of the time gap. We mentioned about the time gap earlier. Yeah, you plant now, you plant a seed now. Do you see a tree tomorrow? No, it takes some time, right? You plant a seed today, maybe after a while you see weeds. Hey, this is not what I plant. Then after a while only you see the tree that you want, the tree that you plant. So there's a time gap to recognize that. So it is said that the test of our renunciation, the 8 worldly thoughts is really the test of our renunciation. Yeah, how much are we attached to these 8 worldly thoughts to get happy and sad for all the meaningless things in our life? That's what they're saying. So it's a test of our renunciation. Think about that. You have this meditation assignment at the end of chapter 5, yeah, which is these 8 worldly thoughts. Yeah, for chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, they keep on asking us to do the same meditation on renunciation. So you can see how important renunciation is. But when you come to chapter 5, now we change already. We are going to meditate on these 8 worldly thoughts. So I want you to do this assignment, meditation assignment. Okay, bring that to your meditation and think about these 8 worldly thoughts. What does it mean? Why she said like that? Let me share something here. There is this thing, 8 worldly thoughts. Okay, just now we say, when we say give up on this life, you can, in the broad sense, means the 8 worldly thoughts that we have just covered just now, or they can also be shortened into the 3 concerns of this life: food, clothes, and a big name. It seems that they mentioned that it's easier, it seems that we can give up food. You know, those days people say, okay lah, I can live with very little food. Then clothes, okay lah, I can live with tattered robes, I'm okay. But to give up a big name seems to be a challenge to us. There is a story about a spiritual practitioner. He went to the cave and meditate. He went to the cave. He just like kind of like going for a 3-year retreat, something like that. Okay, so he went and meditate. But in his heart, he's thinking. How great people think I am. You know, I'm a great meditator. You know, people must be thinking, I'm a great meditator. You know, I go to the cave, I meditate for many, many years. So in that situation, it seems that, you know, the 8 worldly thoughts kind of like spoil his spiritual practice. See? So when we are doing something, you know, in your heart, you know, even though it seems to be spiritual, but in your heart, you're actually looking for some fame. So someone says, whoa, how great I am, you know, wow, how great, I'm a great meditator. I'm a, you know, well, I go for a retreat, you know, I meditate in the cave for years. So that is a very good example. I really like that example. We managed to finish quite a lot last week to give time for our Q&A session, because we have a lot of questions from you, and we invited teacher Alex Roland, a teacher, an ACI teacher, to help us. Yeah, so I would like to go into that segment, because today I'm just supposed to cover the 8 worldly thoughts, which is the very last one. Yeah. And that is in your homework. Okay, let me do a bit of an introduction of teacher Alex. Teacher Alex, I go and check her check her profile in the ACI, Asian Classic Institute. She is the other than being an ACI teacher, she's a co-founder of the Seeds of the True Success, a training company that uses the SEED system to achieve success in all areas of life. Wow. And she's now an assistant professor at the college. She is also certified to teach yoga. And then she's a founding member of Team North Star, a real estate team in Durango. Yeah, and she's a mother of 2 grown children. And she taught SEED system and yoga at international ACI events in Thailand and Indonesia. I saw her, the very first time I saw her was in Lam Rim. I don't remember whether is it Hua Hin or Bali. I saw her. So she's a great teacher. Let's welcome teacher Alex Roland. Thank you for joining us here.
Thank you very much. Thank you for teaching.
Yeah, my pleasure. So I want to read the question to teacher Alex, the very first question from Emerald. Emerald, you want to ask yourself, or you want me to read it? You want to ask the very first question?
Yes, please read it for me, because I don't remember.
Okay. Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. So if I didn't read correctly, anything you help me to add in whatever need to be added, no? All right. The first question, she say she have a problem remembering what she learned. Yeah, and how can she retain and not forget? She asked this question, it was because we were learning about the three problems of the pot. We say, don't be the leaky pot, right? And then, oh, I have this problem. How can I avoid that? How can I want to become a better student? Can you help her, Teacher Alex?
Thank you, Emerald, for the great question. I think a lot of us have this leaky pot problem. And especially if you're just starting out, if this is your first experience of learning this material, it seems very overwhelming. I remember when I first learned it, I didn't understand really what was going on. And I heard Rache say the same thing about when she first started. So I think it's very common. All these Tibetan words are being thrown at us, all these Tibetan names that if it's the first time we've heard it, it's just in one ear and out the other ear, we say in English. So the first thing I would say is just relax. We can learn better if we're not getting tense and nervous about trying to learn. The wonderful thing about ACI 1 is the whole path of what we're going to learn in ACI is covered in these three principal paths, but from a very far view. Like if you could look down at the earth from the moon, you're just seeing this very big picture. And then we're going to come down and learn the details much more deeply and again in different ways and a lot of detail. So for now, we're just getting the rough sketch. And it's not necessary to feel like you have to remember everything. So that's one thing I wanted to say. Also, it depends on what kind of a learner you are. Like, I'm not a scholar who remembers all the details. I have friends who study this material who some of them have a photographic memory where they, remember every detail from everything they learned. But for me, I understand the concepts over time and then I apply them to my life. And that, even if you remember every detail with a photographic memory, if you don't understand the ideas and you don't apply them, then what you learn here isn't going to help you. So at first you can focus on the main ideas, and then the details and names will start to come as you hear them again. So that's another thing that I wanted to say is, don't stress about it. And you may be a scholar, you may end up being a translator, or maybe you already are starting to do Tibetan translation, and that's wonderful. But if you're like me and you're more of a person who wants to use this material to apply it to your life, that's fine too. The answers in these first homework questions are quite short. Maybe just one sentence or two sentences. So that's another thing that I would recommend is we learn short-term memory. When it's time to do your quiz, memorize what you need to be able to do on the quiz. And then it's okay if it doesn't stay in your mind. So you practice learning short-term memory. Like last night, I reviewed this course, the first 5 classes, just to remember what you all have been learning. Now, I've reviewed this course, I've taught this course, but I still needed to go in and remind myself. I don't have it all memorized. So right before you want to share with your friend over coffee, you can go back and read your notes And then you're ready to share accurately if you want to talk to someone about what you learned. It's always good to try to be accurate. And then the last thing about this is seeds. We know that memory and recall is actually a seed ripening in your mind. When you remember something that Rache taught, that's a seed ripening. So how to get the right seeds to ripen when you want them is by helping somebody else to memorize, to understand the material. So when we help somebody else to remember, or we help give somebody the information they need when they need it, then in our mind, what we need when we need it will arise. It's all in there, rattling around. Just need to have it ripen at the right time, right? Yeah. So I hope that helps. Thank you for the great question.
Yes, thank you, teacher. Thank you. Then we have a question from Angela. She said, my friend said Jesus can take away suffering. Is it true?
Thank you, Angela, for this question. I really like this question, and I was thinking about it because Rach told me that you had asked some questions about Christianity. First of all, I would say I'm not an expert in anything, but especially I'm not an expert in Christianity. I've studied a lot of Buddhism. But my partner, who I live with for many years, is a Christian. And Geshe Michael's wife is Christian. And many people I know who study ACI, study Buddhism, have Christian roots and still keep the Christianity as an important part of who they are. So the first thing I wanted to say is that it's not a question of should I be Christian or should I be Buddhist. You know, in ACI, no one's trying to turn people into Buddhists. We're taking a look at the ideas from thousands of years ago. And the text we're reading now from Jason Kappa, you know, he wrote 600 years ago, the root text. So we're looking at ideas that have been used by people for success for many, many years. And then we're evaluating them for ourselves. Will this work for me? What does it mean? How do I use it? Will it work for me? So it doesn't mean that you have to be Buddhist to try this. So then the question about Jesus, let me just make sure I understand how you word it, that he can take away suffering, right? So, you know, a couple things come to mind. I think for some people, the faith of believing that another being can help you does help to take away suffering. In the beginning of class, we brought our teacher in front of us. That could be your mother, it could be your ACI teacher, it could be a teacher in school, somebody who's helped you. You know, you try to think of somebody who's helped you the most and someone who you can feel that they care about you. That the reason they're teaching or showing by example is because of their love for you. So that, and I know people who, for them, that is Jesus, and they put Jesus in front of them. And so that faith, that believing that somebody can help you, it does help us. In Buddhism, though, we say that you're the only one who planted your karma and your negative thoughts. You put them in your mind with your past actions, thoughts, words, and deeds. So we say you're the only one who can change that by putting different thoughts, words, and deeds into your mind, different mental impressions. But those mental impressions can be, I want to be like Jesus. I want to connect myself to the example that he showed and be like him. And really, that's when we bring the teacher in front of us, that's what we're doing. And then that's going to help us a lot. So Christianity may have a different view of that. But that would be the Buddhist perspective. And many people in Buddhism think that Jesus is a Buddha, came to the earth to help us. So for some people, he can take our suffering away, and for some people, maybe he can't. Depends who's looking. So I hope that that helps. There's another question about Christianity too. Shall we answer that one now as well, do you think? Make sure we covered that.
Yeah, we can.
I think it's very similar, right? Could you read it, please, Rach?
Okay. Christians always say we can rely on Jesus. Why we have to plan the 4 steps to achieve our goals? Why can't we rely on Buddha?
Mm-hmm. So I think that I answered that some already, is that it's the seeds that we're planting in our mind, the mental impressions that we're making every day that determine our future. So we can't rely on a spiritual teacher or anybody to help us if we're not trying to change our behavior. So imagine it, someone was in prison, and they use this analogy, right, in this class that it is like we're in prison. But if someone was in prison and they kept hurting other people in prison, they were fighting with the other prisoners, or, you know, even in prison, sometimes they kill each other and commit murder in prison. That person's not going to get healthier and be able to be released from prison, right? They just add more time onto their prison sentence. So if we continue to hurt others while we're wanting someone else to help us, we're not going to make progress. So that's why we need to do the 4 steps and take action in our lives. We can't just continue our old habits and expect new results. They say that's the definition of insanity, is to keep doing the same thing over and over and expect to have a different result. We have to make the effort. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good
Thanks.
answer. Is there anyone who want to ask the teacher directly? If you have any question, just raise your hand. If not, then I'll read from the list that we have in our group chat. Okay, read the next question. If you have, you just raise your hand, okay? So the next question is, in chapter 3, we learned that there is no distinction between our Lama and our alphabet teacher. So if I get angry at my husband or my son, is it true that it destroys all my virtues and brings equal eons of suffering?
Yeah, this is a very good question. I read this in the reading last night as I was reviewing what you've been learning, what this class teaches all of us. I think the important thing here is to think about anger and what anger does to our future. Many of us have a habit of being angry from long ago. And in the 8 worldly thoughts that Rach taught tonight, we get angry when we don't get what we want. We get angry when we don't feel good. We blame somebody else, or we get in a bad mood and we don't care if we say something unkind to somebody. Even somebody who maybe they had nothing to do with why we don't feel good, but we still feel it's okay to yell at them or snap at them because we don't feel good. So the problem with anger is that it reinforces that we think that our anger is coming from something outside of ourselves. We think that the person who appeared to hurt us I didn't do anything. They just came along and what the fourth of the four pairs of worldly thoughts, they said something bad about me, right? That person just said something bad about me for no reason at all. And we get angry. So it reinforces, it replants the seed of misunderstanding over and over again, every time we get angry at somebody or something outside of ourselves. And this will cause us to have bad results in the future. So I think for now, this is the best way to think about whether you're angry at your child, someone in your family, somebody at work, or someone who's trying to teach you something. Interesting thing about our teachers is we don't always recognize them. Sometimes, and maybe you've had this experience, the person we learned the most from was somebody who we had a difficult relationship with, or something painful that happened in our lives, right? So we don't always recognize that we're learning something when it's a painful lesson. So there's also this teaching about the person who teaches us the alphabet is the same as our formal teacher, Rache, teaching us ACI tonight. That also has to do with recognizing teachers all around us and people who are maybe not formal teachers, but maybe they're teaching us the most important lesson of all about attachment, or showing us our own negative thoughts and our negative habitual reactions. So the person that you get angry with is often your very best teacher. So if we can turn it around and stop replanting a negative seed by being angry back, then they're helping us. They're being our mirror of our karma. So at first we can't, anger arises in your mind, right? What are you going to do? You can't push it back down. It's a seed. Anger is a seed ripening. But we can try not to, right? Try not to yell back. And then slowly your seeds for anger start changing. And remember the pen. Don't yell back. And remember, there's no angry person who's not coming from my karma and my negative thoughts and emotions from the past. Does that answer that question thoroughly? I hope so. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid, if I get angry at my dog, I'm, gonna go to hell. That's not the point. And we'll learn a lot in other ACI courses about where different realms come from. So the point is not to be afraid, but to be aware.
And we have the 4 powers too. We'll learn at a later stage. So not to worry, we have the antidote for that.
Good.
Okay, I'll read question 4. How do we know the behavior is wrong if it comes from my view?
Yeah, who asks this question? Is it who's on the chat or in the meeting?
Yap Ying, if I'm not mistaken, I write here Yap Ying. I think some time back in our another class. Yeah, she's a student here. Yeah.
Okay, hi. Thank you for the good question. I'm not totally sure I understand it. Would you like to unmute and tell me a little more about your question?
Maybe I can explain a little bit, teacher.
Okay.
It means that we say that now we are learning Dharma, then we say, oh, I shouldn't react in this way, this behavior is wrong. But then we say that it's coming from us. We have to change, it's coming from us. But since it's coming from us, then how do I change? The view, how I know that that behavior is wrong.
Mhm. So the question is, how do you know the difference between right and wrong? Is that kind of the question there? If you don't have the
I think that is
seeds,
the question.
yeah,
Yeah.
because some people are misbehaving and they don't see their behavior as wrong, perhaps. But I think most people who are in this class already have some ideas about right and wrong. That you have the seeds to come to learn about this, to be interested. And that automatically puts you in a level of development where you care about your happiness, other people's happiness, and what the causes of happiness and unhappiness are. We can start with our own culture. I think around the world, killing other people is not looked upon as a good action, right? I think almost everywhere you end up in jail if you get caught killing people, stealing from people, hurting other people. So that's the place to start, is our own moral understanding in our country. Then we have the top 10 in ACI, which you haven't learned yet, I don't think. But there are guidelines in the Buddhist teachings that will give us very basic, broad understanding of not killing, not stealing. They're like the 10 Commandments in Christianity. Not taking other people's partner or disrespecting our own partner if we're married, not going outside your marriage for relationships. And then they give us 4 about speech, not being harmful with our speech, and 3 ways of thinking so that we're not creating negative seeds, not being jealous of other people, not being happy when other people get good things, and the correct view, which we're going to learn a lot about at the end of ACI. Fantastic. The explanation in this course about emptiness is really fantastic. So you'll learn about that. So that's one thing. We get guidelines that are passed down to us from thousands of years. And if you try to learn those, then you'll be fine. And as our behavior slowly changes, our understanding of what behavior we should be having changes. It gets higher and higher over time. So the thing about these 3 principal paths, renunciation, the wish for enlightenment, and correct view that we're learning in this class, is they all are going to grow slowly together. Even though they're in a certain order, it's not that we develop perfect renunciation and then we go on to the wish for enlightenment. All of them are going to come up slowly. Renunciation has to do with not hurting other people, not wanting to hurt other people anymore, because we don't want to keep creating a world where people are in pain. So renunciation is what starts to change our behavior. And then, so slowly, we hold ourselves to a higher standard over time. Thank you for the good question. Great question.
Thank you. And I want to jump to another question because the student is here. So I will go to question number 7. Our teachers say that what happens to us, including good or bad, because our karma forces us to see those when they ripen. Thus, if we don't have good karma or not good enough, how can we have enough knowledge to check teacher with 10 qualities? if we have good karma, of course, a qualified teacher will come to us. We don't need to check what's wrong with that thought. Very good question.
Yeah, that is a great question. What teacher?
From Emerald, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah.
Thank you.
What kind of a teacher will we have? It's a great question. How do we know what teacher is a good teacher if we don't have good seeds? Because what we'll learn over time is that our teacher, just like our husband or wife or child or people at work, is a reflection of our collection of karma. So we can only see a teacher that mirrors us in some way. So if we have a lot of negative karma, which we do, or we wouldn't be humans, but we also have a lot of good karma, which we do, otherwise we wouldn't be humans. Yeah, it's mixed. We have a lot of mixed karma. We know that this excellent life of leisure and fortune is so precious. So we have a lot of good seeds, but we have some negative seeds, and our teachers will reflect that. So use the 10 guidelines as a way to try to check out a teacher. And then they say, I believe probably in this class that, well, at least pick a teacher that has one or two of these good qualities. They might not have all 10, but look for a teacher that knows something authentic, has studied from an authentic lineage, you know, and is kind. That would be a really good start. And remember that your teachers come in all packages, in all areas of your life. And some of them are going to be tough, hard lessons that we might learn. What we don't want to do is turn our minds over to just anybody. You know, in the reading, they talk about being like a dog, just grabbing at any old thing that comes along. You know, and for me, before I decided that this lineage of Buddhism was a good fit for me, I did try a lot of different things. You know, I've been studying different spiritual things for almost 30 years now. And I met Geshe Michael about 12 years ago. So for the first 18 years or something, I was trying on different things to see what would fit. And I studied a lot of yoga as well. And in yoga, your teacher is important also, you know, finding that yoga teacher. And so I tried to find my teacher, but I couldn't. I didn't have the seeds to find the right teacher or the right path for me. And so, you know, sometimes it takes some time to check out and just, you know, then no, that's not quite right. And you check out again. And then you find the fit that's right for you. And I hope that you do, because to be able to go deeply in one lineage is very rewarding. It's like digging one deep hole instead of a lot of shallow holes. But we can't do it until we have, you know, faith in the teacher and the teachings. You know, then we're ready to jump in. But we don't want to just give our mind and our whole life to anybody. So that's the warning here. You know, don't just turn yourself over to anybody because you could get hurt. Do you think I answered that question? Is there more to the question I might have missed?
Thank you for the answer. Emerald, did the teacher answer your question? Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. I'm still thinking about that.
Okay. Just
So
quickly.
so as I understand that I need to follow a lineage, right? and need to lineage and regularly check. I think that I'm not sure to understand all the answers. I'm so sorry about that.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I think one of the ways we check is by trying out what they say and see if it works for us before you go all in. We say in English, going all in, that comes from a gambling. It's a gambling term where you push all your money into one bet, right? So before you go all in, we check a little bit, see if it works for us. And all we can do is the best we can when it comes to checking out a teacher. And just go slowly. Yeah, I think that's important is you check slowly over time. One of the ways I checked and decided that what Geshe Michael teaches and the teachers who taught him through time were what is right for me is by checking out the students that have used this method. So I have met many students of Geshe Michael's who have been studying with him for 30 years. And they are some of the finest people I know, and many of them are my teachers as well. And so checking out other students is another good way. Are they hurting each other? Are they hurting other people? Then there's something wrong. But there's also the wisdom to know that we're not perfect. And there will be mistakes that happen amongst students, and even we'll see mistakes that the teachers make coming from us. We may see that a teacher has done something that we're not sure if that's right. So that's a tricky area, right? We shouldn't say, well, it's okay that this teacher hurt somebody because it's coming from my bad seeds. But we can say it's coming from my bad seeds and it's not okay to hurt other people. And it's not okay. It's coming from me and it's not okay, both.
Thank you, teacher. I got it now.
Oh, great.
Thank
But
you.
yeah, we'll all keep chewing on it anyway. But yeah, thank you.
Good. So now we have the next question on, I jump to the last one, how Dharma can help us.
How can Dharma help us? Okay, this is a big question. So many ways that Dharma can help us. One of the things that you'll find if you keep studying is that the beginning of every class and the beginning of every text that we use in every class is a sales pitch. So depending on what you're learning, the teacher will give us a reason why this will help us. So different teachings help us in different ways. I think we can look at the three broad ways that the principal paths help us. So renunciation, we've already gone over some of the benefits, I think, even in this class. And I bet you've heard some of them already. We can't get out of our own pain if we don't know that we are in a cage. And the analogy they use is jail, right? So if we think that it's normal that we lose people that we love, that we have to lose every good thing that ever comes to us, that we lose our health, and we lose our youth, and we think that that's the way things have to be. That's just the way things are. You know, have you ever thought that to yourself? That's just the way things are. Humans go to war with each other and hurt each other. And there's nothing we can do about it. If we think there's nothing we can do about it, then we don't try. So renunciation helps us get the urge, get the feeling that we could change ourselves and our world. And renunciation is important for wanting to help other people. Because until we truly want to help ourselves, we can't help other people. And until we truly think there is some way to help ourselves, our desire to help somebody else is kind of wimpy. Until we have an idea that we could help them, then we start to actually, really be able to do something. So Dharma helps us to want to change ourselves and our world. And it also gives us a way to change ourselves and our world. So those are two ways that Dharma helps us, renunciation. And how does bodhicitta help us? Or how does the wish to reach enlightenment help us? It's such a high goal. And it's sometimes very hard to relate to. How could I help every being in the world? How is that possible? So one of the ways that teaching will help us from now, or when we first heard about it, until the end of suffering in this world, is it keeps us trying to reach for our highest understanding and our best effort. Like a mom, if you're a mom or you're a dad, what you try to do for your children is even higher than what you'll try to do for yourself sometimes. I know for me, it was like that. When my first daughter was born, I became a much better person because I wanted to be a better person for her. I wanted her to have a better life. And so bodhicitta is like that. It inspires us to be better for other people. So it inspires us and it keeps us trying. And then how does our worldview help us? It helps us with the first two. We can't develop renunciation. And we can't develop the wish to reach total enlightenment for the benefit of all beings without correct understanding of emptiness. So it's, in one way, it's the most important, but without renunciation, you'll never have correct worldview. And without the powerful seeds of wanting to help other people, you'll never understand emptiness to the level that we will someday grow it to. So they all depend on each other. So Dharma helps us to understand where the world is coming from, how it is that there's pain that comes back around over and over again. And correct view is the way to stop it. It helps us know that we can change it because it doesn't come from anywhere except our own karma. So that's my my answer about how Dharma can help us. How does it help us in our daily life, though? Maybe that was kind of a big, kind of inspirational view of how Dharma can help us. But how it helps us to have a better life today and tomorrow is it really gives meaning to my life. So that the little ups and downs that happen during our day at work or in our family take on a totally different quality. Instead of being something that takes our emotions up and down and our happiness up and down, our life becomes the path to change. So when something bad happens, we feel unhappy because we feel bad, or we're unhappy because we didn't get what we want. Then when we apply wisdom, we've used that difficult situation as a way to have a better world tomorrow. And so eventually nothing is really a problem because problems are our path. And so that's a big change in your life that can happen quickly. What do you think, Rach? What would you add? Can you add anything to that huge question?
Your answer is very perfect. Cover everything that we need to know. Indeed, Dharma tells us where things really come from and how things really work. And from there, we know how we can actually stop to see the suffering that we see in our life as we behave differently with the understanding of emptiness. And that's how our life, things shifted in our life. It also inspires us to live in a more meaningful life. I really like the way you put it, the last part.
Yeah, and I guess
we
sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, teacher.
I was just going to say, what has changed my life is that if you can change one small thing, you can change anything. So when we apply the 4 steps, if you've ever done that, or if you're in DCI and you decide you want to increase your income, you know, any small thing that you actually change from your thoughts, words, and deeds, then you can change everything. And that's profound. What were you going to say, Rach?
Yeah, thank you so much for the very, very good answer that covered everything, including the practical ideas of how we can apply. And I want to ask you a difficult question, teacher. There's one question. She's not here, but she's also a student here. She listened to the recording. She said, how to help a person who is dying, but determined, very, very determined to continue to live as though he's not going to die. How can we help him? She's asking me because her uncle, that is how her uncle is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's such a tough question. The renunciation often comes with some disaster in our life. Maybe you learned that in this class. That sometimes a big disaster is what puts us on the path of renunciation, that we're sick and tired of the terrible things that can happen in this world. And that happened to me when I was 17 years old. Someone very, very close to me died of cancer, and it was sudden. Only, you know, he found out he had cancer and he died in a short period of time. And I was there in the hospital at his deathbed when he was dying. And to the very, very end, he refused to believe it was true and was yelling and screaming, so angry, you know, very angry about it. And this was a very painful thing for me as a young person, and made me question everything, I guess, really, you know, what's it all about? But now, from studying a lot of Dharma, the very best thing we can do for anyone who's dying, even pets, even someone who has just passed on recently, or someone who's passed on even longer time ago, is to help them be focusing on the good things that they did in their life. So for somebody who is now struggling with an illness, it's okay if they don't want to face that they're dying. You can't change that. And that's the mistake I made when I was 17. Actually, some of the last conversation I had with this person who was dying, I said, you know, the doctors say you're not going to make it. Why not, you know, can you just relax and just let go? And then this person was angry with me and like yelled at me, what do you know about it? You know, it's true. I don't know what it's like to die. I don't know anything about it. But So we don't want to try to push someone into accepting death. When we die, I hope that we can be well trained enough to know that having anger at the end of our life is not going to be a good seed for us. So we want to practice through our time of studying Dharma to know that it's the good things that we do in this life that will help us. Dharma is the only thing that can help us. I heard Rache say it tonight. But back to the person who's dying now and who doesn't have Dharma, maybe they have no spiritual path that will give them peace. Just remind them and talk about the good things in this that they've done, how they've helped other people, try to turn their mind to good memories of what they did to help others. If they raised children, if they, helped people in any way, try to bring the conversation back to that and celebrate their life so that they're thinking about the good things. They're warming up their good seeds in this lifetime. And as I said, you can do it after someone passes away too. And I think as Dharma practitioners or people who study ACI or DCI, this is the best thing that we can do is celebrate. It's coffee meditation, big time coffee meditation, celebrating their life. If that's all they have the ability to do. And Geshe Michael has a story about that with his dad. His dad didn't have any spiritual practice and had killed people in war. And Geshe Michael, one of the things he did is he asked his dad, do you regret that? And his dad had never really talked about the war. But his dad said, yeah, that's a big regret for me that I had to kill people. And that regret, which you'll learn later if you don't already know, is one of the 4 powers and will help to clean up negative seeds. So if they are in the mood, if the person who's passing away is in the mood for some type of like a confession or regret, we can help them with that. Thanks for the good question. It's something we all end up facing at one time or another. So just try to help the person be happy as much as possible.
Yeah. I also think that another thing maybe I can add would be the person, maybe bring the person to do some good things like life liberation, just a normal activity that the person can do without the person feeling like, they're doing something good, but without them realizing that, without feeling stress, just that they can accept good activities that they can accept.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
And Angela, I think she typed in the chat. Let me read. I saw the message from the chat. My mom can't talk now. What kind of seeds I need to plant?
Does she means her mom is unable to speak? What does she mean by her mom can't talk now?
Yes, my mom got stroke and dementia. Then now now recently that she can't talk much,
She has a problem with her voice.
Yeah, her vocal cords, then she can't talk much, so I'm trying very hard to make her speak. So what kind of seed I need to plant? Yeah.
Yeah, great. Wow, great question. And so when we have a loved one who has a problem, this is the time where we try to apply our wisdom and wonder, well, what did I do in the past that could have blocked somebody from speaking, perhaps? So we get to look at ourselves and think, how did I prevent somebody's voice from being heard? Maybe some common things that we do is interrupting each other, not listening carefully when someone else is speaking. Maybe there's somebody in your life who doesn't feel empowered to speak up. You know, maybe they're shy or they feel like their voice is not important, and you could help that person have more of a voice in the world or in their family or in their life. So helping people to communicate, and like there's seeds we can plant for communication, helping to make sure people have cell phones that work. If they're having tech problems with their computers, we communicate so much now in this modern world, so many ways that we communicate with each other. So we can look for ways to help people communicate smoothly, to plant the positive seeds, and look for those negative seeds of interrupting from the past, or that we might still be doing, preventing people from having a voice in the world.
Okay. Teacher Alex saying about that this morning I met a girlfriend in the market. So every time I met her, she complained to me that someone uses her data. So she complained to Google. Google say so she's looking for compensation, and she stopped working for, I think, as long as 10 years old. So I tell her, why don't you move on? Maybe Google is not going to do anything for you. Why don't you move on? You know, anyway, you can't bring the money up, you know, to the heaven. She said, no, that's about ethics. Yeah, about ethics. She said, I'm not going to let go, you know, that kind of thing. And when I say, you don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow, right? Correct not? Why you fight on this thing so hard? Why? She's so angry at me. She cursed me, you know. She cursed me instead. I get a shock. So I'm trying to, maybe I stop her from voicing out. In the end, she cursed me. She said, you're going to die, all this. She cursed me. I get a shock. She said, you're going to die. I said, I'm not saying, not trying to curse you. I'm trying to tell you that you don't hold on to, you know, grudges for so long, you know. You're wasting your life away. And you can't bring the money, even if you get a compensation, so what? You can't bring your money away, you know. But she don't get it. Instead, she cursed me back. So I feel so sad. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how to help people? Yeah, sorry. I mean, every time I see her, I have pity for her. So so I was thinking how to help this kind of people, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is so hard when we first are learning how to help other people. We'll make mistakes, or we'll make them angry accidentally. Oh, you know, our family might not want to hear about seeds, emptiness. You know, please don't talk about it anymore to me. So we have to be skillful, but it takes time to learn how to be skillful. Yeah, but just wanting to help, and wanting to help people in a way that they can not react negatively will, you know, slowly help you know what to say. If you're not sure, just don't say anything. Just listen to them, let them know you care about them, and you're here for them as support. And then think about it. Sometimes maybe you can't say anything that day. Like you have an idea. Well, if I help them understand impermanence, it will help their life, right? But you think maybe they're not ready, maybe they don't want to hear about that, and then go home and think about it. Maybe meditate about it. How could you, in a small way, help them understand that this material thing's not so important, right? Is what you would like her to know, that she's wasting her time and energy on something that's not important. So you'll have to look for tricky ways to bring that idea to her.
Yeah, every time I see her, I'm in the market, I try to cut her conversation short because she always complains to me. So maybe I'm also blocking someone's freedom, you know.
Yeah, when people complain, it's coming from our seeds. My friend Janice, I don't know if any of you know Janice. She and I have studied together for every level. We took ACI 1 together, and then we took all the ACI courses together and all the DCI courses together, where we teach at the college. So she's my Dharma partner. I was working in her store one summer about 10 years ago, and we'd heard about these ideas. And we thought, we want to complain less, because complaining is not helping anything. So when we were working together in the store and we were around each other, anytime one of us complained or heard the other person complaining, we had a secret sign where we would scratch our head, right? So we made this secret sign for each other. So if I heard her complaining, I wouldn't tell her stop complaining. I would just scratch my head in the same place every time. And that summer we really reduced our complaining, and that lasted for years. We broke the habit of complaining. So work on our own complaining is one thing. And another thing is the diversion. The diversion is such a great tactic. And am I going over time, Rache? Oh, it is getting late. Yeah. But diversion means you break it by doing something, go off in a different direction. Oh, look at the beautiful sky. You just try to take someone's attention somewhere else. Thank you very much. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share today.
Thank you, Teacher Alex, for the great answer that you've given to us. And Teacher Alex, can you, help us to do with the dedication? You lead us with the dedication.
Sure, I can do the dedication. It probably won't be as beautiful as yours, Rache, but thank you for asking. Let's just take a moment to close our eyes again. Connect with your breath. We've learned something in this class that we'll be able to use to change our own lives and to help other people. Something that we can use to help that person that we thought of in the beginning of class. One specific person who has a problem. Be happy. Be happy for yourself for coming to this class. Be happy that you're interested. That comes from you. Be happy that we have teachers who care enough to learn and then prepare to share the material. You can take all of that goodness and imagine it like a shining gem in your hands. And offer it to the teacher that you brought in front of you at the beginning of class. This offering is your promise to practice what you've learned. May accept this gift. May bring it back to you, right down into your heart, where they'll stay and help you when we're not sure what to do. By the power of the goodness that we have done, may all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the two ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Rache, for teaching, for spreading wisdom all around. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Teacher Alex. And thank you everyone for being here today.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
teacher Alex. Thank you,
you.
Mr. Rachel. Thank you, everyone.
Picture? Have we take picture?
Thank you.
Oh yeah, taking a picture, that would be great.
Yeah, Alex.
I can take that. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, done. Thank you. Good night. Good morning, everyone. Have a nice day. See you in the next class. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Do I need to stop the recording or someone will do for me?